scenario for Monroe County, Florida Keys, and the west coast of Florida. Anytime you're in that northeast quadrant as a storm is moving forward, that's where the maximum radius winds are that define the intensity of the storm. That's where storm surge is most prevalent, and you know, the inland winds are going to be tough, and also, you know, 80% of your landfalling hurricanes bring with them tornadoes, so we're already seeing some tornado watches and warnings spread across the state.
Does Irma's new course put more people in jeopardy? Are folks now in Alabama and Georgia, are they now in more danger with this new path?
So we're in good communication with Alabama as well, and they're definitely watching this storm. Any shift to the west has implications for them, and we're also in great communication with Georgia as well, because as this thing moves inland, you know, that tornado threat's going to persist. Inland rains are going to persist as well. So we're moving very quickly. The president has been in great communication, not only with me, but been moving very swiftly to put the proper declarations in place. And so today it's all about you know, as the president requested from me last night, he said, do everything you can to take care of people, and that's what we're doing. We're positioning as many teams and commodities in place today and ready to go.
Over the next few hours, Mr. Long, what is your biggest immediate concern? And does the fact that the storm is going up the Gulf Coast, which means bigger storm surges, how big a concern is that right now?
Storm surge has the highest potential to kill the most amount of people and cause the most amount of damage. And so, you know, my biggest concern is when people fail to heed a warning early from local government officials, and then they make a last-minute ditch to try to get to a shelter or into a facility to withstand the winds. And in some cases, the water starts to rise and they get trapped because they didn't heed the warning early, and that's my greatest concern. You know, we care about people and try to put that message out, and sometimes people listen and sometimes they don't.
Is it too late for people to try to get out? And I'm talking about people now, let's say, up to Naples. Is it too late, or Fort Myers? Should they shelter in place?
Well, it's too late for folks in the Monroe County, Florida Keys. Maximum radius winds in the eye are moving over as we speak right now. It's going to be very hard to get out of the Keys. I'm sure, you know, if you are going to move and leave Southwest Florida from, you know, Marco Island on up the coast, your time is running out. You know, and in some cases, if the water starts to rise around you and you become isolated, try to get into a facility that you think can withstand the winds and get elevated, get out of the storm surge.
One of the big changes in FEMA since Hurricane Katrina is that you folks are now more proactive in terms of positioning personnel, positioning equipment than FEMA used to be before. But I wonder, with this change, because we kept thinking until, the last 24 hours, it was headed up the East Coast, the Atlantic coast, now to the Gulf Coast. Does that mean that some of your equipment and people are out of position? Is that going to create a new problem?
No, not at all. You know, we've been in great position. We're leaning way far forward, and we've had people and teams in place. I actually have liaisons in 11 counties, you know, on the west side of Florida, working directly with local emergency managers to make sure we understand what the state's demands are and what the locals' demands are, so that we can help backfill their capabilities. We've pushed 3 days worth of commodities in, ready to go, but you know, it's going to take some time. This is a complex event because of the south to north trajectory of the storm. The power is going to be out for a long time. It's going to be tough for us to get in to perform search and rescue of South Florida. We have to wait till that, you know, till all the elements pass through. This is a complex event, but as far as positioning goes, you know, we've done pretty much all we can.
Finally, sir, you, of course, are still dealing with Hurricane Harvey, and Congress just passed $15 billion in disaster relief to deal with that. But do you have the money you need? Do you have the people you need to deal with the situation in the southeast United States, Florida and neighboring states, post-Irma?
Sure. So the Congress did its due diligence and, you know, passed the supplemental to allow us to keep moving. And as I've been saying, paperwork and money should not get in the way of saving lives, and I believe the Congress recognizes that. There's great communication between the White House and the Congress in regards to emergency management.
Extra funds to buy hurricane supplies, and then also it's a food desert, so that means that the food is not accessible in the capacity that it needs to be. So, you know, that's just our reality.
Not far away, Emmanuel Jones is boarding up his house. It was a last-minute decision to stay.
From watching the news, we've seen people breaking down, running out of gas on the highway. No gas stations had no gas, so just decided to stay.
With his aunt Tangela and 3 others, they will sit out the storm here and hope to emerge unscathed.
I'm not gonna lie, I am a little scared. Yeah, I get scared with all of them. So.
But you think you're going to be okay?
I think we'll be fine.
Most stores are closed, and when word goes round one gas station has petrol, long lines form. That is, until it runs out. There are signs of what's to come. There are bursts of heavy rain, gusts of strong winds and some localised flooding.
No. As the eye of the storm heads for Florida, highways have been jammed with vehicles and gas stations are running out of fuel. Now, the Florida governor has urged everyone in Irma's path to flee, but many people in Miami are unwilling or unable to leave and are boarding up their windows to limit the damage. Nicholas Sanchez O'Donovan is in the city for RT.
In the morning, we haven't seen practically anybody on the streets, no cars, and all businesses and public buildings here are boarded up, or they're using sandbags, because this, as I say, is going to be an area where we expecting severe floods, severe flooding, a lot of water, both from rain and from the surge. Gusts of winds are getting more constant. These were about 2-3 minutes long. Now it's sustained for about 15 to 20 minutes. And right there, that's an enormous crane at the top of the building. They didn't have time to put them down, to dismantle them and put them away, so they've left them up. And those cranes are right now a big threat to the buildings surrounding the construction site. We are definitely noticing the first effects of what could be a devastating